It's only the Allianz Leagues. It's only February. Only a warm-up. Only a relegation. Only a bit of fun. It's only a debut. Only hundreds of competitive matches and thousands of players giving it their all. Only an unstoppable passion for GA across the whole nation. It's only 30 years of Allianz supporting the leagues, and we're not done yet. Only the leagues. Only the Allianz Leagues.
A grain of rice. A grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Morning, guys. How are you all doing?
Good
Morning, lads.
You're very welcome along, lads, to the Examiner podcast show in association with Allianz. Thanks to Allianz as always for looking after us there for the league. We're delighted to be joined. TJ's in studio. Landers has dropped, but he get called up again for the final next week. TJ, better play well. Delighted to be joined from Kilkenny City by Mr. Brian Hogan. Good to have him back. And also from Douglas, a 3.2 million mansion on the Blackrock Road by Mr. Eoin Cadogan. Cads, how are things?
I'm good, Dalo. I'm good, boy. I
Good.
thought after reading your article the other day that we'd be all decked out in Just Do It t-shirts.
Just do it, yeah. Well,
I loved it.
In fairness, the Cork, they just did it, so interesting weekend. I suppose yesterday was disappointing, but I think we got a ripper on Saturday night. I did the Piersic boys here from Cardiff, busload of them. Great crack. Stayed for the match. Weren't supposed to, TJ, but a good publican always keeps them for the match. Do you know what I mean? Throughout the pizzas there at about 6:30, so they couldn't really go ahead in like.
They just give you more. I saw some of the pictures.
Oh, it's a good laugh. Yeah, your employee there, Mr. Downs and Mr. Dowling. They had a few bob on a favourite horse, double down with Cork, and the whole Piersic bus was shouting for Kilkenny besides the two boys. It was good. It was just out of spite now as well. I'm not saying they're totally Kilkenny supporters, but it was a good laugh here. Good thanks to the Piersic for the call. It was a great old evening. Interesting weekend, boys. Hoagie, you're out of the league, but you brought a certain level that we'd expect from you, and of course, as usual, you did deliver on that.
Yeah, I think overall it's been a good, positive league for Kilkenny. I think Brian has found one or two more players. The back six, albeit I think Tommy Walsh missing was a loss. It looks like there's the makings of a decent unit there. We've conceded relatively little. I mean, I think the goal Cork got was it the first goal or second goal we conceded in the league. And there's that I suppose that's the basis for any serious team. Is having a kind of a solid back six, and the spine of the team as well is starting to take a bit of shape. Moving Porrick up there, that was a question at the beginning, but Porrick's done an awful lot of hurling in the forwards. He does a lot of hurling for his club in the forwards, underage. So yeah. So look, there's definitely positives there, but there's still a fair bit to work on as well. I think and that's probably not a bad position to be in either. Heading into the championship, there's a couple of weeks there. There's not long, but you've a couple of days come back in. But yeah, look, I mean, we'll get into it probably in the match itself in more detail. But yeah, look, we did an awful lot right in the first half, but I just think we just ran out of steam. I think positive things or use of the ball in the first half was really good. You know, obviously the intensity is there. That's a given. You kind of have to take that with anything Brian's over. I think Cork struggled with that in the first half. You know, surprisingly, I mean, I'm sure they knew what to expect, but you know, from our side, the use of the ball was good. You know, and we got some great scores, but just you know, I won't say the bench from Cork. That's an easy one. You know, obviously they brought on Tim O'Mahony and Jack O'Connor, these guys, and that's a big help. But definitely their power play. You know, in the last quarter, we struggled to stay with them, and that's probably a bit of a disappointing thing, is that haven't got ourselves into a really strong, you know, good position. Cork just had that extra gear, you know.
They have buckets of pace, Brian, haven't they? Yeah. Cork, like from every angle, it's coming at you at speed.
Yeah. I mean, look, the goal epitomised that. You know, Fitzgibbon. I mean, like he's a Rolls Royce engine. Is the term that's been used before, but like he barely looks like he's touching the ground. He's one of those guys you just envy. You said, "Geez, if you had a pair of legs like that, you know, and Jack O'Connor is the same." And there's a load of them, you know. I mean, even, you know, I mean, Joyce that came in there, you know, wing back. I mean, you know, young lads, you know, physically he no issue to him, but the pace, they come from all angles, and if you allow them to build that platform, you're in big trouble. And I thought Kilkenny did it really well in the first half in shutting down that, you know, not allowing them to get that platform to run at us from the middle and you know, from the half backs. But as I said to you, in the second half, you know, the introduction of Tim O'Mahony added a bit more power, and they just, I suppose they got the grips in that middle third, you know, with the kind of the attritional play that we were trying to impose, and started getting the overlaps, you know. And you had Robbie O'Malley there, Robbie O'Flynn, got, you know, went on one or two long bursting runs up the wing with Barrett. You haven't come from all angles, and at that stage, it just felt we were hanging on, you know, to a certain extent, and we probably just needed to, you know, we just needed to get a couple of scores just to keep, you know, on the board, just to kind of, you know, keep us moving, and we were probably struggling to get scores at that stage, you know. But like there's no substitute for pace like that.
No, I still thought it was a great, you know, probably give out about yesterday's game now in some ways, but from your point of view, Owen, I'd say a satisfying kind of way to, if you could have rolled away for a game and the way it panned out, like Kilkenny racing off early and it was going to be a flat night from Cork, but they just kept coming up with answers, didn't they? Even when Kilkenny, it looked like when Cork drew level, I think it was around 44 or 45 minutes that Cork would kick on now, but Kilkenny responded again and then Cork kicked on again. So from that point of view, I'd say for Kieran, probably a satisfying enough Saturday night lights.
Yeah, I'd say, to be honest with you, if you were to look at, say, the individual performance of some of the guys like Conor Lehan, Kieran Joyce, Alan Connolly, parking all of that, I think Kieran and the group itself would said, we came out against the Kilkenny team that hit the ground running real fast. We were down 7 points to 1, I think 1 point within a real early stage in the first half, and still dragged ourselves back into it. Even when it was level in the second half, we drove on again, and, you know, having been not too long out of the system, I would have said that was a real Gary Keegan moment where stick to the program, stick to the plan. We've got the panel, trust what we're doing. And I think maybe previously there might have been a small little bit of panic set in, like 7 points to 1 down. You know, this is the old Kilkenny again coming back. Are we going to get a little bit of trimming? Stuck to their guns. Tim O'Mahony came in, settled it. I thought, lads, Kieran Joyce was just off the scales for a young lad. I was 4 seats back from Brian Cody and where Comfort were sitting, and I just couldn't get over. I saw him putting over Walter on top of him straight away, and I said, here's a big challenge here now for Joyce. Geez, physically, aerially, his distribution, I thought for a young lad, he was immense. Fitzgibbon, back to the form of 2018.
But a Walter Walsh that was in serious form coming into it as well.
Yeah, and like Walter's a handful. Like, he's obviously very good aerially. He's their go-to guy for the long puck-outs. I thought he handled the situation really, really well. But not alone that, there was just so many other different names. Like at the early stage of the league, obviously Patrick Hogan was flying against Galway. Shane Kingston was flying. They had 2 of the kind of quieter nights. Alan Colley steps up with 4. Lehan back in form again, and even just a word on Lehan, like, you know, I've been dug out of him a couple of times in club championship and stuck marking him. And, you know, you can't underestimate the work that guy has done to put himself back in a scenario, both physically and mentally, and to be performing at that level, because there was huge pressure and a huge risk going back playing with Cork. Like, don't underestimate that for a second. And I'm delighted to see him delivering, because even to step up there, hit the freeze when Shane and Hoggy were gone, no bother to him. So plenty of positives, but again, big challenge coming down the road now Saturday night.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll come to the league final. We'll have a look forward to it. TJ, you were over. It was a good game, wasn't it? It was end to end. It was the outcome was in doubt right up to the you know, last couple of minutes. I really enjoyed it, I have to say.
Yeah, I think the lads covered it pretty well there. I think Cork's influence in the second half was very evident. They forced their stamp on the game. They were able to keep their defensive unit very tight, and they opened up the spaces. I just thought, as Brian said there, I thought Kilkenny's use of the ball in the second half. I think if they'll have a question mark after the game, they go back and analyse it. I think they went long too often. I think even Owen Murphy with some of the puck outs and stuff there, when it wasn't working in the second half, I thought they did it really, really well in the first half. I thought that, and I had said this before about Kilkenny in the last couple of games, there's definitely is a change in style. But I think when you look back on it, I think in the second half when they came under pressure, I think that maybe the way Cork set up, kind of it suited maybe the ball to go through the lines a bit more in the second half. I think that was kind of one of the key features. Cork created the space and it suited them. And like, there's no doubt, like with these young fellas that Cork have and the speed and pace and skill, but they have, it suits them to kind of have ball into open space, nice ball in. Like Connolly was very effective inside the full forward line. And I will agree with Caddy there that the new guys like Joyce and like Barrett, there's no doubt the Cork are on the up and on the improve. No doubt about that. I suppose we will come to it. The question mark for them now, and even heading into the weekend, is this full back line. As to what next, we get Owen's view on that in a while as to whether they stick or twist with full back. It definitely was an area of concern. And even deep into the second half, Kilkenny probably created 2 more half-goal chances. It was a ball to Wally that he didn't control, and then there was another breaking ball that Billy Ryan burst onto Hoagie. I think there was a kind of a hole there as well. So that's just one of the question marks for Cork. But you'd have to be impressed overall with their scoring rate, and I suppose they're big players. Like, no doubt down the middle, Fitzgibbon was excellent again in the middle of the field, and like, you know what I mean? He's one of those players that makes this team tick, and he kind of probably is a symbol about the way they play in terms of pace, going forward, skill. Scores. The other thing for Kilkenny too is I will probably agree with Hoagie. I think that Brian would be overall happy with the league. I think he's found the most of his team. I think he'll be happy enough with that. It'll be interesting. I'm assuming, Brian, that we'll see TJ at 14. Now that's probably maybe a little bit unfair on Massey Keown because he has been scoring well, but I'm assuming he'll fit in the team somewhere. He will definitely be a plus for them. And I think the other big plus for Brian is the emergence of Owen Cody. We've all known he's already emerged, but in terms of being young player of the year and stuff, but he's just shown now that he could be heir to the throne to TJ over the next year or two. Like, he definitely has everything in the tool bag to be a top class forward going forward.
Yeah. Oh, look, Rolls Royce is mentioned already. Like, in relation to Darragh Fitzgibbon and Rightly, like, you know, and Cody as well. Like, you know, what a player. Overall, Brian, in terms of the league, like we've touched on it. Like Mikey Butler, Blanchfield, Kilkenny maybe hadn't got an awakening, and TJ's touched on the Cork full back line, and Darragh O'Leary had a tough hour on a half an hour on Massey Keown, but that's part of the kind of learning process. Like, it's a long time ago now, but I got plenty skinnings early on. You nearly have to, don't you, have learning days like that?
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. I think we've all been there. And, you know, Kingston referred after the match to to character, you know, and I think Owen touched on it. You know, if Cork had gone out and, you know, kicked on early and rattled over points and got the crowd behind them and won by 7 or 8 points, to be grand, but they wouldn't have learned as much as what they learned. The manner of the victory on Saturday night, I think, says everything. You know, the way that Cork stuck to the process, as Owen has mentioned, you know, and there's a piece, I'm sure they're talking in the dressing room around character and believing in each other, and backing, and all the usual kind of talk. But again, you're going to have days when players, it doesn't roll, it doesn't flow for a player. Now, do you cut that player? Do you change the line? Because that was a serious match. That was right up there in periods of the championship standards. If a young lad in there full back, yeah, he had his hands full. Do you stick or twist? What do you do? I mean, you're talking about believing in players and and that kind of thing. I back him. I go out in the league final, pick him again. He's going to have a handful the next day again. And you said these are the way. He'll learn more from that match than he would have learned from the previous 4 or 5 league matches. So from that point of view, I think Kingston will be really happy with the manner of the win, and that just feeds into the rhetoric in the dressing room, around believing in the process, follow through, trusting each other, because you had up the other end of the field. It didn't run for Horgan or Kingston, and he wasn't shy about taking the 2 boys off. Now, to be fair, they ran into 2 lads who were in top form for us, and that was a great battle, in terms of Mikey has answered any questions been put in front of him so far in the league.
Mikey's seen them all off, isn't he?
He has. He had
big fan of him.
He had Desi Hutchinson the last. Now I know it was the last round of the league or whatever, but anyone that's all you can do. It's these games. You're looking at lads. You can only play what's in front of you. And obviously Hugh was really coming to his own this year, and so there were 2 great battles. And possibly they may meet later on the year, but yeah. So from that point of view, I think Kingston will be delighted. And as I said, you referenced that word character numerous times, and I think that's a huge thing for them. And coming out the semi-final last year against Kilkenny, and the belief they would have taken from that. And obviously, we know what happened in the final, but it's all about building that bit of momentum. So, but yeah, from Kilkenny's perspective, they've definitely found a few players. How they use TJ will be really interesting. Whether they put him on the edge of the square as TJ.
What's the inside track now? How long away is he, or what's the
come on
now, come on, don't be.
Yeah, well, the lads are training. They were training on. They were training. I think it was yesterday. I haven't done more. Well, Adrian and a few of the others. Obviously, if you're not playing match on the match weekend, the days of having the weekend off are long gone.
Stay in Cork Saturday night, few points.
Exactly. No. It's nearly easier playing the game than what's lying in store for you. But look, I personally would like to see him have that kind of freedom to float, because I think,
come here, we're constantly saying here now we'd love him at 14 and just
leave
him at 14.
They'll never be that's it for the season. Each game will take on a life of its own, and inevitably he will go. Like for example, you mentioned Joyce. They targeted Joyce last night. They put Wally across to them. Brian does that. The old adage, hammer to hammer. He'll look for a matchup that they can exploit. And in fairness to Joyce, he stood up to it. Now I thought Wally did well as well during the course of the game, but Joyce was magnificent. But from TJ's perspective, absolutely. He will be on the edge of the square at some point during the season. But you see with Ballyhale, I mean, he killed us in the county final because we had him. We had the matchups. Hugh was on him. Was holding him. He dropped out to midfield. Do you follow him out there and leave a gap, or do you hold your position? And he went out to midfield, and he just started pulling the strings for about 10 minutes, pinging balls, and asking questions, I suppose. And absolutely, if you put him on the edge of the square, teams know exactly what to do. Now, I'm not saying they can do it, but it may work one day, but the next day, you may have to move. And I just like to see it, even for a period during a match. It would ask questions to the opposition, and he's so clever. He's such an intelligent hurler. He will get on the ball, and you want him on the ball. He doesn't have the legs of 5-6 years ago, that he can play centre forward and run the match. So it's about how we maximise him. But look, the guys around him, Owen, Cody is really developed, coming to his own now. And there's a few others that probably need to push on another notch, and and hopefully they do. But look, I think Brian will be happy with it.
Yeah, as a Kilkenny man, Brian would say now the Kilkenny or the Leinster teams now are out of the league, so it's all about this day 3 weeks, and we'll be talking about who won, who lost. I know, look, it's a hard one for you to answer now, but the power rankings, I'll ask the 2 boys now in Leinster, if there was power rankings, where would you have yourselves now? I mean, there was a lot of talk the night of the Tip game, that it was a poor game, and would Kilkenny be in the 3? I think that's gone out the window from my head anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's amazing. 1 or 2 games, and the whole it turns it on its head. Because I was agreeing with you that day against Tip was woeful. But I tell you, there's nothing between the 4 of them. And when I say the 4, it's Galway, Dublin, Wexford, and ourselves. I still think Henry up in Galway. I think, look, obviously there's been issues there. He's had his own personal things to deal with over the last few weeks. But I wouldn't be looking any further than 3 weeks time. You can't. We're not.
We've Westmeath in 3 weeks time, Huggy.
Yeah, but that I know. Look, that's Brian's mentality. Mentality. He's not thinking. He never deviates from that. But. We are a bit behind. I think in terms of Leinster, I think we are. I think I would have Limerick number 1 still. TJ there, look on. TJ cut out the PR. Is getting out.
They're going out to 6-4 now.
Yeah. But I still think, look, until they're bet, Dalo, championship is championship, and until they're bet, they're still going to be favourites. That's the reality of it, And then you've got Waterford and Cork, and I think the gap is closed. And we'll see who's number. We'll get a better idea now in the league final, but. Yeah, look, I still think there's a bit to be done from a Kilkenny perspective to close that gap on the top 3. But Jesus, Leinster, I wouldn't. I certainly I'm not a bet man. You're the bet man. Where would you be putting your money, Dalo? I'll put it back on you.
You need to win Leinster for me anyway.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
I liked a lot of what I saw Saturday night as well, and I think they kind of backed up the performances against Waterford and against Dublin on Saturday night because they turned up on in Cork, fast pitch. Big pitch. I think this is Flanders is here now. We'll be raving about the pitch, like the lights and the rashers and sausages. And but I did think it was a good performance, and there was a fair bit of defiance, Cody type defiance.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah,
and throw Reed on top of it, like.
Yeah, look, I think the one thing you can say about us, about Kilkenny, is that you know what you're going to get. I think there's a more consistency there. I think there's a bit of an unknown quantity with the other 3. I think Wexford's, that was a disaster for him, yesterday. But we've spoken about Galway every year. We speak about Galway and the potential they have. And they could, with Henry there, potentially. We don't know. We haven't seen enough. So we know what and Kilkenny are going in the right direction. So I can understand where you're coming from. I wouldn't necessarily say they're favourites yet, but look, it's the toss of a coin.
Look, and lads,
one looking across at it on. What way would you see Leinster now?
Like Kilkenny are trying to do something, lads, that are completely alien to them. I said this in the paper the other day. Like working the ball through the lines, it was always a case of when I was playing, it was definitely get the ball, and it was up to the forwards to win their own ball, whatever way it came, in any shape or form. Whereas the last day, I was 4 seats back now from Cody and Comfort, and they were going bananas about the ball not going to hand when they were trying to work it out through the lines. What they're trying to do is different. It's going to take a little bit of time, but in the last couple of weeks we've seen it's improved. Mikey Butler's a standout guy for me. Big fan of that guy. He's a serious man marker. Desi Hutchinson held him to 3, I think, the week beforehand. Shane Kingston, 2 even. Yeah. He had Shane Kingston the last day. He had Lehan for a small bit, so really impressed with him. Blanchfield in the Waterford game as well. I thought the last day he was a small bit jittery on Robbie O'Flynn with his pace. I thought when Robbie had it, they backed off and retreated because he didn't trust himself. No, I've been there myself. You're kind of gambling, You're gambling.
It's easy talking.
Yeah, it's easy to say it, but you see Robbie O'Flynn coming in an A versus B game, give him the 4 steps and then back yourself to show him down the narrowest parts of the field, and I thought that's what he tried to do. Robbie still only finished with 1, but got through a rake of work, I thought. I think Billy Ryan as well inside, he took Downey for 5 in the semi-final last year. He was buzzing around the place on Saturday night as well. He's probably goes a little bit underrated in the sense that he's unbelievable pace. He's going to cause trouble no matter what type of fullback or cornerback you have. Brian Cody's going to be probably happy overall. He's not going to be happy to be beaten by Cork in the semi-final, but he'll be happy overall that what they're trying to do, they just need to evolve it a small bit more. So Galway, I just don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen enough to go, there's something different there quite yet. And Brian alluded to it already, like they've obviously had a difficult circumstances. Henry has over the last couple of weeks, so that's going to have a little bit of an impact. But you know, come championship, you can be sure Henry knows what championship's about. Like, you know, if there's ever a man to know what it's about, it's him. Like, so he'll be driving that into his players for the next couple of weeks. So on the basis of what I've seen so far, you'd have to say that Kilkenny would be kind of top dogs in Leinster is what I'm seeing, you know.
Yeah, I'd see it that way myself. I just think it's amazing, as Brian said, like coming out of the tip Kilkenny game, I would have been saying would have been the three, like, and then a couple of league games later, I'm having them maybe as Leinster champions. But I suppose in one way, we're not talking about Galway, and that will suit Chef as well. Like, you know, that they'll be coming in under the radar. But for me, I think Galway need all their players available, and we all know everyone's in trouble a bit with a few injuries and that. TJ, what was your assessment? Like, they're all done and dusted now. Look, we have championship shows coming up on the road and everything, so we'll be going more. But looking across at Leinster, well, I know now you have more of an insight to Galway than most of us now with Kevin in there, but like, there's no doubt. Like, I just wouldn't judge Wexford on yesterday. I don't know. Do you know?
No.
I thought they weren't. Do you know? I thought they weren't off a yard in racing parlance, TJ. Just like famously with Luckman, we doing running sessions the morning of the game to raffle like me. They looked like that a bit to me, that they had a session done that morning and they were just stuck to the ground and never turned up. But overall in Leinster, like, we know it's probably from the four teams, due respect to Westmeath and Laois, but
to be
probably
fair,
from Dublin, Wexford, Galway, Kilkenny.
Wexford Galway is a first round game, which is a huge game in Wexford Park, because I think the losers there are going to be under pressure straight away. So that's a huge game. Like, I thought Brian was saying there a while ago that Kilkenny had a bit to find in Leinster. That's why I was kind of smiling, right? But no doubt that Kilkenny are the standard setters in Leinster. They have been, even in the famine. Cody's picking up Leinster titles there for themselves. I just think, going back to the game, that there was an awful lot to like about Kilkenny. They have their team, I'd say, more or less settled on, which is what you want at the end of a league, is to kind of know where players are at. That's a huge plus for them. The free count was hugely against them in the first half, Brian. I think it was 13-2, albeit 13-2, yeah. a couple of handy ones. Cork fellas going down handy, Brian, as you know, nothing changes there. I will say that they'll learn a lot, I think, from the second half. What we're going to see in this championship coming up, right, is teams giving you the ball to 45 yards, retreating, hoping you give them the ball, right? And then that's ideal then for a Cork or, let's say, a Waterford type scenario where they have the ball, they're starting to be very good to mind it, and then they're explosive with the space and the runners that they have. The way it just really suits them, right? I think the second half of this match will be really scrutinised well by Kilkenny to see what they should have and could have done differently. So again, learning points there will be huge. For me right now, I think Kilkenny would be top of the pile in Leinster. I think the rest of them have to improve. The Dublin's performance the last day, or the second last day out, Wexford yesterday, I just think that they have plenty to find. And I know we spoke about Galway. I just don't know what Galway's first 15 is yet, Dalo. I think that they have a lot of they've tried a huge amount of players. They've looked at an awful lot of players. I would say that their in-house games for the next couple of weeks will be crucial as to their setup. And I suppose Sheedy touched on it the last day about them Galway not scoring goals. They have a bit of work to do. And I think all of them have to improve to get to where Cody is right now. I think Cody will be happiest going into Leinster. And as you said there, from the middle of the league, that's definitely a change. But definitely, they're big players playing well. TJ Reid coming back into it is no doubt going to give it a helping hand as well, because we know his work rate and what he brings and his standards brings to the table. So for me, to answer the question is, I would say Kilkenny in pole position in Leinster right now.
Yeah. That's the way I'd say it too. But obviously, as you said, that I think that first round game, Wexford and Galway is absolutely massive for the overall. I think Kilkenny will win their first two. Then they have three tough ones together. So that's another day's work. Lads, yesterday, One is there anything to be gained out of the way Wexford approached the game? And I'm not being like, if we were here chatting in 3 weeks' time, like, and they're after beating Galway, Darragh Egan is 100% right in with his approach. Like, I'm like, I alluded to it this morning in the paper that in 1998, like, we didn't turn up at all against Cork in a league semi-final, and I think it was 8 weeks later, of course. That time, everything was way later in the year. We beat, I think, they beat us 8, I think, in the league semi-final. Then we beat them 8, so a 16-point turnaround in the time in between. There's less time now. Like, Darragh Egan spoken an awful lot about low energy after the game in his interview. I'm glad the interviews are conducted in English, so I know what's going on. Though my Irish is improving.
He's improving.
Yeah. Sarah in the park, I think, was freedom of the park, is it? Because Austin Gleeson, your man said, was being handed that, and Lahan, I think, is wide, because I was getting ready for the hurling and I had to watch some football, Cads. And I know you're a great footballer as well, right? But I had to watch some football, and the next thing, the way TG Carr, I gave him a bit of a shtick last week that the only match that counted was Waterford and Kilkenny last week, and we were being shown bits of Dublin Laois, and we were being shown bits of Limerick and Offaly. But it kind of worked just there because the Football League was so intriguing. And the next thing, I just see Michael Murphy come up on the side screen, penalty. I say, Mikey Murphy bury this now to be like Harry Kane taking it, maybe a next thing. Lahan, says your man. I think that's wide, is it? There'll be all sorts of Gael goers now on Twitter giving me grief. I was disappointed just that even early on now they got a goal, whether the ball was over the end line is kind of inconclusive with Rory O'Connor hand passing it back across Mikey Dwyer stuck it. But for me, like, when there was only 2 points in it early on, with the chances Desi was creating inside, there could have been 8 or 9 points in it early on. And Julie, of course, ran out 5-20. Is there anything to be gained with the way Wexford approached that game? I don't know, like, even the players going home, are they saying, sure, we weren't really trying at all in that. Like, we'll be right for 3 weeks' time. But does it fill you with doubts for 3 weeks' time then as well?
Yeah, like, the psychology of being beaten by that much so close to championship, you're going to be going back into training Tuesday night saying, we have a lot of work to do. So you're either going to get a big kick over the next 2 or 3 weeks, or else it's going to say what we've done to date hasn't or isn't going to work when we go to play championship. From Darragh Egan's perspective, saying low energy is grand, but some of the stuff that was going on, like the wide count, the shooting from distance, like a corner forward shooting from the sideline, the defending, lads, there was fellas plowing through the centre with no one marking, like basic stuff. Desi Hutchinson, as you said, freedom of the pitch, like Desi is a serious corner forward, like, and I'd imagine, say, Cahill gave him a bit of a rap in the knuckles after maybe the performance the last day that, this is county scene. No, Desi, we need to get going, lad. But as you said, basics, like bog basics of tracking the runners down the centre. Where was Ozzy even playing, like, or who was marking him? Would it be a rough stab to say he was kind of left half forward? Yeah, I thought he was midfield 1 minute. He was centre forward. He was coming in from the left for a lot of it anyway, wasn't he? He was, like, just like, what Ozzy's going to do. Like, if he gets past the 45, he's going to run the ball. And like, no one came to him. Like, I didn't see Liam Ryan once, like, as the full back. Like, I'm even wondering where he was. So for Darragh Egan, plenty to think about anyway, that's for sure. But if I had corner forwards as a full back and they were shooting over the shoulder from the sideline continuously and the ball pumped down top of me, I wouldn't be a happy camper on Tuesday night anyway, that's for sure. Yeah, maybe Hoagie gives them a bit of tour for Tuesday night, Thursday night, an in-house game next Saturday, Sunday, maybe both days, I got a bit of grief off Twitter from some lad last week that we weren't talking enough about Wexford at all, and he'll give me grief again today. Now we're talking too much about him after no show, but like, it was too easy, like, for Waterford, wasn't it? And we will talk about Waterford and the options and who will be the 26 for Waterford if they're all fit. Would be nearly impossible to pick one. But I just thought Wexford took a pull, if I'm going to say in racing terms, and I know you're not a racing man, but
they just weren't off, if you like. And for me, I don't know what's to be gained from that. Like,
it's bonkers. Like, if getting a 19-point beating, the best you can come out with is that we got a lift the following 2 nights in training is what you're looking for, and then you're on a hiding to nothing. I mean, aside from the collective, wanting to go out and perform as individuals, like all these lads are competitive by nature. Like, standing out there in Owen Park and getting bet by 19 points, and as Cado said, as a back, having balls rain down on you or lads coming running at you in waves, there's no enjoyment in that. I mean, you look forward to sunny Sunday afternoons going out and pitting yourself against the best, and to put in a performance like that for whatever reason, like, has to be hugely dispiriting. I mean, going back in the bus to Exeter Town, I mean, what do you say? It was frightening. You mentioned it, like, Waterford could have had 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. They cut them open at will, and like, there's a couple of those Wexford boys like to mix it. They're good. Liam Ryan, Matthew Hanlon, these guys, they're not. I didn't see any of them. Like, there was no one, for whatever reason. You can say it was Waterford's movement or whatever, but they seemed to all at sea. They looked like they were just going man for man with Waterford, and Waterford were bringing them into positions to create space then for the likes of Hutchinson. And the Waterford full forward line stayed really deep, so they created that space in front of them. But, like, you're talking senior intercounty play, like, whether it's on the line or it doesn't matter. You have at some point to say, hold on, lads, we can't leave 40 yards of space in front of Desi Hutchinson. Even before the match, you would have known. So, and the writing was on the wall after 5 minutes, the way the Waterford were running at them. So, yeah, it was, I mean, a couple of weeks out from championship, there's an awful lot of questions to be answered. And aside from that, I mean, there's nothing beats winning. And I hope it wasn't trying to be too clever, with championship coming down the line and that one, like, because I think that's a mistake. I think, for any county, and Wexford in particular, like, getting silverware, getting to play in the league final with massive preparation. And I think, Waterford will take it on board. They're building momentum. They went for the jugular. They took it on. That's the right preparation. You can't switch it on and off like a light switch. So, yeah, it's hard to know what to say, really. I mean, as a game, it was hugely disappointing because you were looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be a cracker. A Southeast derby and whatever else. But
Brian, like, we knew Kilkenny would turn up. You just don't do any other way. Like, you go to win. Cody has won 10 leagues, I think, So, I know probably how it happens. Like, you don't tell Rory, go out and have a stinker there, miss freeze and everything.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
The players sense it. The players know. They're not. They know in the lead up, the week of a match, how seriously this is being taken. And the preparation is going into it. So players feed into it, and then there's this kind of. And this is something that Brian would have, like, fought against kind of consistently, complacency. That was, you hear in time he talks, complacency is what he hates. Players going out and go through the motions. If you're not given 100%, regardless of ability or whatever else, you won't be there. And that complacency or whatever is set in, and it was almost going through the motions. Whereas Waterford came up to win a match, and that was the difference. And yeah, players know in the lead up to a match whether this is on or it's not, and so that was
that's my recollection of the way Mr. Gerald O'Clan used to do it. There used to be all these sort of myths out there that we went to Templemore and we trained for 90 minutes before the game. That wasn't the case, but he wouldn't wire it up like on Tuesday or Thursday. He just wouldn't. He'd say, going hard tonight again. No, we're prepping for the championship, and obviously Sunday's important, but he wouldn't rile it up like he normally would. Yeah,
and again, I can only speak from my perspective. It wasn't necessarily be Brian. It would have been, setting the agenda the week of, but he would have got around to certain senior players, kind of, and you'd have a word, and they'd be the guys, right? But it would come through them, because again, you're not going to last there however many years it is at this stage with the same trick. So, but again, within a group, you get the sense.
Years, I think, is it?
Yeah. You get the sense leading into it, so players, it comes from within the group as well. And for whatever reason, it just didn't seem to be there yesterday from a Wexford perspective. And the fans going up, who've travelled up from New Ross and Gorey and Wexford Town, I mean, it must be really difficult, you know, to sit in the stand and to watch that performance as well. It must be really disappointing because they would have been harbouring ambitions of getting to a league final and, you know, the build up to playing Cork and winning it, exactly, you know, and they don't come around too often, no matter what county you're in, you know. So yeah, it's an opportunity lost, you know.
How many league medals have you? How many league medals have you?
We'll move on now. We'll.
How many league medals have you?
Not enough. You never have enough.
Jesus.
Does football count?
Football don't count on this show. Go away.
The only good football is a punctured one in Kilkenny.
But lads,
we're the opposite end of the spectrum here now on the football front.
Am I missing something with no Jack O'Connor playing and no Lee Chin playing, but both able to come on like 3 weeks away from championship?
Jack might as well have to stay at home too, because throwing the hurley when you're on the yellow card, like, in fairness, Jack, come on, like, you know. Yeah. But TJ, we're not going to be Dara might argue the toss with us, low energy, he said, and I think Dara Egan is one of the best brains in hurling, to be honest.
Very smart individual.
Yeah, he's entitled to go about it whatever way he likes. It's all about this morning, 3 weeks. If he has beaten Galway in Wexford Park, he's in pole position then to come out of Leinster. And that's all that really, I'd say, Dara cares about. So, TJ, we might be being a bit too hard on him, like, but I just think, I don't know what benefit you get out of it. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like,
there's no benefits. No, there's no benefit. The reality is,
how many years are you manager, TJ? 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you concede goals like that, like, it can come back to haunt you a couple of weeks later. Like I said, it's in the mind. There is no benefit in doing what they did. I think to sum up Wexford's performance yesterday was probably the first goal. Like, it was a poor puck out by Mark Fanning with a stationary half back. Ozzy just senses it. And he runs, and then the whole thing opens, as Eoin said there, right? And nobody even comes to challenge him, and he sticks the ball in the back of the net. That's something that would happen in training, and you call him back in and say, lads, this won't do. So that summed them up. The good news for Dara is Davy seemed to have the solutions last night in the Sunday game. So if he gives Davy a ring during the week, he can fix it for him, right? That's number one, right? For that little small window. I'm going to, like, obviously energy looked like it was an issue, let's say, with some of the stuff that happened in the first half. But I still think there was a system issue there defensively. Like, you know yourself, any day you go out, I don't think any team goes out, as you said, not to win. Okay, you can say you might be off or whatever, but there was so many goal chances and so many chances for Waterford yesterday. It was just a complete no-show by Wexford. I just think they didn't know what to do with the Waterford forwards. They were busy all over the place. They were following them up. They were neither here nor there. So there's definitely a bit of work done to be done for Dara there. Now, he is smart. Like, the Waterford game plan is tricky enough to play against. And if you get caught in the headlights, it can cause a problem. We will talk about it in a while. We have a really intriguing 2 teams in the league final to see how will they go head to head on each other in terms of systems and trying to influence their game on each other. But for Wexford, no advantage in doing what they did. I don't know what's story with Lee Chin. Is he nursing his way back from injury as to why he hasn't featured much in the league? But Wexford had been very much a form team up to the semi-final. They played very well in the league. They would have been very happy with a lot of that. Yesterday's game, they had to draw a line in the sand. They don't have much time to get over it. Like, I'm sure Galway will be watching that with a lot of intent yesterday and looking for runners and to go at them and maybe trying to exploit those goal chances. Galway haven't been scoring goals. So I go back to what I said at the start there. The first round of the championship for Galway and Wexford is huge.
It is. It's a monstrosity of a game in Wexford Park. I know they're all monstrosities, especially in Munster now. Obviously, there's no time for slacking at all in Munster. You're caught. But that, for the two of them, is you can recover, obviously, if you lose it. But it is a big one. You know, a few buddies on there yesterday texting and that, and Adrian McGrath, over a great old school pal of mine there from Flannan's, and over in Scariff, they'll be saying you have to say nearly Waterford have the best panel in Ireland. There's a case to be made for it, like, you know, early on the year, maybe if you were following hurling up along and following colleges, you'd know, but you know, the likes of Mike Kiley, Neil Montgomery, Jack Pender, Dara, Lyons, midfield. They look good, like lads, don't they? They look like they have a cover for nearly every spot on the field, which is something that any manager going into the championship and also going into the league final, obviously, would be craving for. And still, though, with Tip coming to town, they have injuries that, if they were on a clear perspective, and we have a few of them up here now, not giving the poor mouth, but they'd be fatal for a lot of teams. At the moment, we're saying, no, Jamie Barron, but should be grand. This Darragh Allianz is flying it. Do you know? It's unusual to be able to say that one for any Munster county to be missing what they're missing. Stephen Bennett's a big doubt, seemingly. Austin misses the final now, obviously, unless he gets that rescinded. We'll talk about that in a sec. But strength-wise, they have a lot of it, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. And even say Conor Prunty missing as well yesterday. They seem Daly was solid out. I think down the spine, with Prunty and Bennett. Callum Lyons coming on, sticking a score. Barron, Tyg back.
He's massive.
I don't think even if we had a crystal ball, I don't think we could pick what the Waterford 15 will be for next Saturday night. And that's what's going to be Cork's biggest challenge. I don't know, will they actually know who's coming or what's coming in the sense, will they have Prunty back? Will they not? I think Liam Cahill might be in a stronger position than what Kieran Kingston is, in the sense that we discussed there at times that the Cork full back line was a bit questionable the other night. No, I played in the full back line and I'd be always their biggest fans, because it's not a nice place to play, especially if there's plenty of space in front of you. So I'll be always going with the full back club there, lads, and I don't expect me to be giving out about them, right? But if Kieran wants to go strong, does he risk Sean O'Donoghue, who's carrying a niggle, and put him in Conor back? I don't think Liam Cahill has that problem. He had no Prunty yesterday. Daly came in, filled the spot. Do we need to risk Prunty 2 weeks away from championship? Probably not. Whereas if Kieran Kingston's going to go all out for it, we need to get Sean in. Wasn't happy with the full back line. Do we risk him? Does he break down? And we have Limerick 2 weeks later coming to town. So you would have to say that Waterford's overall bench, Liam Cahill has a bigger pick before next Saturday night.
But Owen, it's a national title. Surely to God, there's no question of not going for it from either side.
Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that Waterford have more options than what Cork have right now. So if you were to look at the Cork bench now, and Sean O'Donoghue's been carrying a niggle, Darragh O'Leary went off at half-time with a groin, is what Kieran Kingston said. You've Damien Callan probably going to slip into 3. Niall O'Leary in the corner, and now who have we got a corner back like? So do you put Sean O'Donoghue in and risk him for the Limerick game? Unless he's fine now. Do you know what I'm saying is that Liam Cahill definitely has more options for more positions than possibly what Kieran Kingston has.
Yeah. I probably, yeah. I suppose when you look at it that
probably
way,
he's more top class players out there too.
Yeah. Well, next Saturday we'll know.
Yeah. The word is there, I think, that Prunty, Jamie Barron, and Stephen Bennett won't make next weekend. I don't know how true it is, but that's the word that we're hearing, is that they won't make next weekend.
I don't think they'll be risked either with the championship in mind. I know as you said, it's a national title, but I don't think there'll be Stephen Bennett. Maybe if it was a championship match, might be tried. I think to see, it'd be all sorts of tests this week and that. But I think
it's a testament to the squad they have. I mean, I didn't even realize. It was only when I was looking at the team after the match and kind of going through it, I said, "Geez, Conor Prunty's not even playing." Eoin Daly was so good at full back. Now I know, okay, you can argue how much they were up against in terms of the contest with Wexford, but Jesus, he was the full back line in general were immense. They made a couple of really top class tackles there, interventions at different stages, and full back has been it's a specialist position, and to have a guy who could slot in there instead of Conor Prunty, who's been
hard to get good full backs, Huggy.
It is, TJ. It is.
Very hard.
I was in there once or twice and I was moved out of it as quickly.
Yeah, good call.
Come here, when they're kind of loud now in one way, but they do play kind of champagne hurling, don't they? It's class to watch. A couple of the goals yesterday, I know the defender wasn't hectic, but when they turn it on, they're a sight to behold, aren't they, Watford? There's a style about them. They're kind of flamboyant. It reminds you of Barcelona and they're there now without the titles yet.
Yeah, there's a steel to him as well, like, which can't be underestimated. You know, I mean, we mentioned Ty DeBurka. I mean, he's I think I love watching him. I just think he's just a class player, and obviously coming back from the two cruciates and that, you know, Jack Fagan beside him there, and the other Daly, you know, the other side of the series half back line. But yeah, their movements, their pace, a bit like Cork, when they click into gear, you know, they're frightening. You know, they can come at you from all angles, and Kilkenny, you know, would have experienced that as well last year. But it's like Desi. We've seen what Desi has done at club level, you know, with Ballygunner this year, and he's really kind of come into his own, and you know, as a leader, I think for club and county. And as Eoin has mentioned, I think maybe even the last day, I'm sure Liam would have had a word with him and said, right boy, or right lad. As Eoin said, you know, you're inter-county now. You know, you're back in the senior setup. You know, but yeah, like, and you know, it's frightening. Like physically, you know, they've even moved on again since last year. I think, you know, in terms of what they can offer, and then hurling wise, just their movements, the way they cut Wexford open with a couple of, you know, the kind of dink balls in who is it? Blake Gleeson,
Austin
to Ozzy, and actually Patrick Curran is a player we would have looked at since back in the days when he was hurling for Dungarvan, you know, when they won the College of Ireland. You know, was a serious talent, and kind of stalls for a while, you know, struggled to kind of make that step up. But in the last couple of games, he's been really impressive. I mean, he's run down the sideline there, you know, keeping the ball in play. You know, and to create that goal for Prendergast was a savage bit of skill, you know. And yeah, it's going to be, like, I'm really looking forward to the league final. I hope the both teams go at it, you know, as they should, for a national title, because I think it's going to be an intriguing match, you know. And both teams, tons of pace, but massive amounts of hurling in them as well, you know. And the one or two additions that Liam Cahill has made this year to the panel, I think have really kind of pushed them on a bit. Yeah,
and I suppose we'd have to mention Austin's raid, and frustrating as well. Like, both Simon Donoghue made a lot of a flick now, lads, and was it even a flick? Like, we barely say, and he did give him a flick first, I thought. Like,
it doesn't matter. What was he doing?
Cads is only recently retired now, but Jesus, we'd nearly be wearing the hurley off him if he gave me that flick. But, you know, you wouldn't be going down, like, would you? Well, maybe he caught him just on the right sensitive spot, and maybe he did get an initial kind of a shock. But Jesus, Sniper wouldn't have taken him down as quick, would he?
No. To be fair, I suppose it's the good and the bad. First of all, from Ozzy's point of view, he just brings that little bit of magic and class to the game, Ireland, that's just off the charts. He's striking his movements.
Can I say this from a Clareman's point of view, TJ? He's Kelly-esque when he's going.
He's
well,
Kelly-esque, without a doubt. The second goal, like, I suppose that's what Desi brings to the inside line. Desi's got goal in his mind all the time. His movement, and he's pulling players away. He's thinking goal. The ball he gets out in the sideline, which looks like little or nothing on, right? It takes Ozzy's movement into that space, and then Desi's brain to see it. Very, very difficult to coach that. And as I said, that's what Ozzy brings to the table. And he definitely looks like a player that's in the zone. He's back to his very, very best. Big return most days. I don't think it's a red card. I think he's got a good chance of getting it rescinded. It's possibly a yellow. Like, there's nothing at all in it. Like, I think Simon probably realised what happened, and in fairness to him, I think he was trying to make a case to the referee. Like, you see, when the ball
Simon just said they'll be on the podcast and the Examiner in the morning giving out about me, so I better get up here and try and get him off of it.
Get up. You'll see when the two boys went past the end line, there was a little bit of a coming together, and the two of them maybe had a small little bit of a go at each other. No striking or anything. And then as he's coming out, Simon probably said something to him, and as he left the hurley there, to me, it's absolutely nothing. I'd love to see him cleared to play in the league final as a neutral. I don't think it's a red. I think it's a yellow at max.
Yeah,
my opinion. Can I just come in? I disagree from the point of view, TJ. I mean, I hate seeing that kind of little snake back. You could do a bit of damage to a lad. Now, there was no force in it, but my point is, he left the opportunity open to the ref. You know, if he had an issue, he should have turned around and grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. If there was an issue and went on behind the goal, or made it, you know, or actually,
you didn't want our man Donegal, did you? Headlock.
No, but that like, you're 15 or whatever, 16 points up. Either turn around and, you know, say, you know, be point blank about it, or they doing that. Like it was just like.
But Hoagie,
for
I don't think
God's
there
sake.
was an issue. I don't think if there was an issue, I think
that-
Ozzy would have dealt with it.
I think after the goal, he went into the rail. He went into the back of the net, and he there was a bit of. It looked like there was a little bit of verbal there coming back out.
Yeah, but I think it was coming together. Like my honest opinion is, I don't think that's a red card. If that comes into hurling, right, you'll have more and more cards. I just don't think. I think it was a yellow. I do think it was stupid. There's no getting away from it, and we saw Liam Cahill's reaction to it.
Yeah.
But I just think that I don't think there was any malice in it, and I don't think. My opinion is it wasn't a red.
Right. Well, look. The only other thing I'll say on it is that there's been a few instances where players have gone down very easy. I didn't like the way he went down either. I think it's a little bit of it's crept into the game a bit, and it's something I don't like. And I was disappointed with Donoghue for going down, and I think he realised himself. Then he jumped back up and tried to make amends for it, and the damage is done at that stage. And it's not something I like, and hopefully we won't see it again. I just think for Ozzy, for the game, he was unbelievable. And I agree with you. He's coming back to his best. And he's just, when he's on, And I just thought, jeez, the game was done,
Brian,
Yeah.
Brian, I'll ask you a question. And I asked this question about Limerick when the focus was on them early part of the league, right? Players getting sent off. If it was Mikey Kiley.
There's no one as bad as Gino for getting fellas sent off.
I know, we'll come back to that in a second. If it was Mikey Kiley, would it have been a red?
I think so, yeah. I think so. Because he went back with the butt of a hurl.
I think it was because he was Ozzy, like.
Yeah, but isn't that something that TJ, and I'll ask you one, like if you have a bit of a rep, and he has a bit of a rep, right? No matter what we say for taking the bait, are you giving, not so much John Keenan now, I thought John did his best. There was a couple of things Wexford weren't too happy about. I think the Tyke Burka challenge on Rory O'Connor, they said definite penalty. It definitely looked like the two arms were wrapped around. But like if you have a bit of a rep on, you can't give umpires, linesmen, refs any excuse, like, can you? And
I don't like the way you aim that at me.
I'm not saying you would have been a ref. You were long picking up on it though.
Yeah, it might be my debut on the pod, like, but I'm including you, Dalo.
We're just warming you up for the live shows, kid.
Yeah.
Look, you can't really, can you?
No, you'd be disgusted. Like if you were Ozzy Gleeson tomorrow now, you'd be disgusted at just being missing a league final. Like, I'd love to see him play next weekend, TJ. But if a defender did that to a forward, I'm telling you, it'd be anarchy, disgraceful. The defenders are at it again. So just because it's Ozzy Gleeson doesn't mean that he didn't give him a dunt with the hurley. Like that's what he did. Like what were you giving him a yellow card for?
Owen, I bet you, right, between now and the 1st of May, right? No, but I'm going to say to you is, I bet it's a minimal force kind of a mishap that we use to the hurley. That's what the yellow is for, right?
Minimal force mishap.
Yeah, I guarantee you, I'll pick 7 or 8 incidents between now and the 1st of May that are of similar stature that won't be a red. That's what I guarantee you.
You have to remember, TJ was a forward before he became a full back, like.
I know. I was watching them.
Like I just don't think there's a red card. Like what is a red card? Striking with the hurley? Is that striking with the hurley?
Technically
obviously,
it is, though, is it?
That's the referee. Obviously, he struck him with the hurley. That's who got sent off. I imagine. I don't know the referee's report, like, but how many hand passes yesterday were proper hand passes? We could go through hurling all day, like. It's
did he blow
we're
for
never
any,
going to be right. Like,
did he blow for any hand passes yesterday?
One maybe. I can't. I'm not 100% sure, but
there was a lot of steps. There was a lot of steps taken at times.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it was a vicious act. Like, would I like to see him play next week? Of course, I agree 100% with you. If I was a Cork defender, I'd want to see him come out to play to see exactly where I'm at for Limerick in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully the guy gets an opportunity. I don't think it was malicious. I think it was silly. That's what it was.
Yeah, no, it was silly. Silly.
I don't think he'd get off
18 points up.
Yeah.
I think the ref consulted, probably had linesmen in his ear. Yeah. The umpires said what they said. I can't see why he get off it. It was very minimal now, I have to say.
Yeah.
He could get a statement from Simon Donoghue pleading his case, kind of saying that it was a little bit of shenanigans and the way that goes on in the GAA.
I have a good one for you on that, lads, now that you brought it up very quickly. I got put off before a league final in football in 2000. Yeah. What? Yeah. I knew. The shocker. But I got put off against Armagh in the semi-final or the last game in the football, and it was Stevie MacDonald, the corner forward. I caught with, as Frank Murphy said to me, a flailing hand, not an elbow. So Stevie came up and represented me above in Croke Park for my hearing prior to the league final. He said, lads, there was nothing in it. It'd be, a fierce harsh on the young lad if he missed it. So the boy said to him, so he didn't hit you, so you were feigning an injury. So they turned it on Stevie. So Stevie was looking over at us like this at the table, didn't know what to say, and I didn't get off and I missed the league final. So, I don't know, will that work if he gives him a written script to say there was nothing in it? Like,
Geez, I tell you, if Frank couldn't get you off.
Yeah, I know. No better man.
Yeah, was it? I know they look very good, TJ, but like we said it last week, like that they hammered Laois. Kilkenny beat them. They got a draw in Parnell Park. If Neil McManus stuck the penalty, it'd have been a draw in Belfast. They beat Tip, fair enough, 10 points. It might be just Liam saying this morning that I prefer it to be Brian Cody or Kieran Kingston, that I got a right test. No, he has the opportunity, of course, of that right test next Saturday night, which I say 7:15 in Thurles under lights. Well, it might be even under lights now with the way I forgot about the clocks going forward or back or whatever. But that's coming down the line. But it's still like, are people blowing them up a bit too much? Now, look, 2 years ago they were in the Munster final, they were in the All Ireland final. They gave Limerick plenty to think about in that winter All Ireland, and they were very good. And I suppose last year kind of didn't get going from. But would you be small bit like saying, I wonder about all these players and all the options they have, but are they all that good? Do you know what I mean? Would they all walk onto every other intercounty team?
I difficult question, Dalo. I just think that they'll need their main players. They'll need Prunty. They need Tiger Burke at 6. Like, he was a massive last in last year, right? They need Stephen Bennett. They need Desi. They need an Aussie in the zone. If they're going to have an impact in the championship, and it looks like he is back to his best, they need a Jamie Barron in the middle of the field, buzzing under the place. They need all of them. There's no doubt they're on the improve. Are they that good? I just think you just said yesterday is a false dawn, right? We'll learn more about them the weekend. I think it looks like the general agreement is that they're probably perceived to be maybe number 2 at the moment, maybe the closest to Limerick, even though there's a good few of them around that. And it's hard to disagree with that. I just think that they are. And
Cork, like, you'd have to say, like, they're the two.
And Cork. Well,
I jumping out. I would have thought Kilkenny have come back into the picture as well now, but
yeah, they have.
They're the two that everyone, we're down here in Clare, so they're, with due respect, Joe Huggy, they're talking about the Munster teams, obviously, mostly around here. So there would be a general, came down for a couple of bevs yesterday evening before the Sunday game. Went back up to watch Dow and Davy to be met with the football panellists when I got back up home. But there is a lot of, that Waterford, Cork are the two possibly that. But go on. I cut you off there about, was it a good day? Was it a bad day? Are all these guys, the fellas I named early on, the Kileys, the Montgomerys, the Fagans, the Jack Penders, the Darrell Lyneses, would all these walk onto the Limerick panel team?
Oh, no.
See, there, no is
the answer to that. But I'll go back to what I said. I think when you pick from a fully fit first string squad in Waterford, I think you're going to have an impressive first 15. I think they're going to be very strong. They're building a nice squad. The way the championship is obviously run over a short period of time, you're going to need a certain amount of squad. And as I think Hoagie said at the start there, be able to bring on fellas there with 15 minutes to go that are possibly even as good as maybe first 15ers. Waterford look like they're heading in that direction. They still have more to do. The defensive side of it at times. Yesterday you can't read anything into it because Wexford just didn't show up. But they just tend to concede higher than the other teams on a given day. I know they play the Champagne Hurling, as you said, so they're going to have to make sure that the concession of scores is kept to a minimum in order for them to win championships. But we'll get to it in a second, right? I just think what's coming down the track on Saturday night is going to be very interesting tactically. Both teams have I won't say the same, but not too dissimilar now. The way Mark Coleman plays, the way Tadhg de Búrca plays, maybe Tadhg de Búrca sits a little bit deeper. They like to have possession of the ball. They like to run at teams. So it's very similar styles having a go off each other on Saturday night.
Yeah, and Hoagie, for a fella that never came out past his own 45 only once. You like these two centre backs? They're sitting back. Coleman obviously does go forward, but they seem to have now Cork system in place that someone is centre back when he's gone wandering, and of course when he goes wandering, he's absolute pace and he's striking and everything. He's just a class act. He'd be midfield if I was picking the team, but of course with a system there now, he has that kind of license to get forward, and obviously then. Tied back, like, you know, just he's so secure, like, isn't he? Just you'd love to be full back with him playing in front of you.
Oh, listen, he's like the credit to him for coming back from the injuries that he's had, first of all, and to get back to like the standard he's hurling at. He's a massive. I mean, the confidence he must give the water guys around him when you see him. He's a pure leader. You can see that in him. And Mark, they're the modern centre back. You know, they're pure ballers. You know, I see Mark last year in the semi-final against us. And just he's so comfortable on the ball. You know, he's like this thing of like we need a sweeper. Like these guys are so good at reading the game that they're playing the centre back position and they're seeing the danger. They're dropping back into the pocket. They're picking up the ball. They're always offering an outlet for their defenders, be the full back line or the wing backs. You know, they're always offering an option to take the ball and move it through the lines. Their distribution of the ball. You know, like that was something that stood out last year when I was watching because I was right in line with Mark in the second half and he was pinging balls, you know, just you know, 40, 50, 60, it didn't make a difference, you know. And Tadhg, you know, Tadhg, I suppose, is like, not to say that Mark is not, but Tadhg is a physically dominant, imposing guy there in the middle as well. You know, he has no problem mixing it, and he likes that kind of physical element as well. Two serious players. And of course, what that allows you then is you don't need to be dropping guys back in sweeper positions or, you know, covering, because these two guys anchor the centre of your defence, and you've got guys like that who are intelligent enough and comfortable enough on the ball to do that. That, you know, that creates, you know, a huge amount of options then further out the field for you. And they are, you know, particularly Marcus was he quarterbacks it to a certain extent from that position for Cork, you know, and you can't afford to allow them to be first receiver from the goalie, whatever you do, you know. At least if you push it out to the wings, you're narrowing the angle from a distribution. But if you give those two guys ball as a first receiver from a goalie, you're done. You're cooked. You know, you're already on the 40, 50 yard line. And
I saw an article from Anthony Nash there, and it's no disrespect to yourself, no kids, but he said he called Coleman the wizard, where he was looking for a sharp puck out. If he could give it to Coleman at all, he knew things were going to happen quickly. Like, you know, that once he got it to Coleman's hand, that it was going to be gone or moved up the field quickly. Like, you know, he has that, hasn't he?
Well, I thought Kilkenny actually did quite well the other night at delaying Coleman because they knew Cork wanted to get him on the ball. Yeah. I thought they turned it back a lot, and it got the crowd a small little bit antsy on Saturday night. You know, it was lateral because Coleman couldn't go forward because Kilkenny ran him straight away. I expect the same out of Waterford. You know, they're really, really good at hunting in packs. You saw that the last day. No, in saying that, I would have said, Brian, that Nolan Park is a much, much tighter field playing than what Thurles is. So, you know, it might have looked a lot more congested yesterday, Waterford Wexford versus what it might look on Saturday night. So, Coleman's who you want to get on the ball. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that. I know from playing on the wing, I didn't need to, if I had my back the other way, I'd say Pat Collins or Nash were delighted because they weren't going to give it to me anyway. Like, so Coleman is definitely, and Tim O'Mahony's very comfortable on the ball, lads. He breaks the line really, really well. I thought when he came on the last day, he settled things, and typical Newtown guy, bit of steel with him as well. Like, so everyone in the half back line needs to be able to play a ball, like, you know.
That's it. So, it's one of the things though for me, like you could, where TJ talked about it earlier, allowing teams in the full back line get the puck out. You can't be letting it go to the half back line, like you can't.
And that's where Wexford got caught yesterday for the goals. But as he was, they were trying to hit the half backs, and I thought the full forward line for Waterford setup was really, really good. They were literally across the top of the D set up, and you see that with most teams. They're conceding to the full back line, and not being disrespectful to anyone in the full back line, but it's probably the least amount of hurling inside there in terms of the whole starting 15. If you wanted Mark Coleman or say myself in a corner getting the ball, I know who I'd be giving the ball to as a corner forward, you know. So that's just the reality of it, and that's the way hurling's gone. Like, so that's why I was still impressed with Kilkenny the other night about how they were working the ball through the lines. And if you're not comfortable doing it, that's where you want to get caught. That's where you get punished.
It's a big time. And TJ, looking ahead to it, it's mouth watering, like, isn't it? You know, it's no, they probably have the small problem of meeting each other in the Munster Championship. I think it's in Walsh Park a few weeks later. So but they'll go for it, won't they? They'll both want the title.
Oh yeah, definitely.
How would you see it panning out, TJ?
It's a beautiful standalone fixture with a national title on offer. So for both teams, they will want to be the silverware heading into the championship. Definitely has the deaf dog feature about it. Dalo, this is tricky. What's
that's hard to call, lads. The tweet.
Yeah. What's
dog? I was there for that one.
You watched that one.
Both centre backs are going to play similar, right? So the centre in general play, you're going to have a midfielder from Cork picking up, say, Prendergast, who's centre forward for Waterford, and something similar, I would say, from the Waterford point of view, they'll have a midfielder picking up, which will allow Tig to work at the sit, right? On the puck outs, both of them, I'd say, will push up. They won't allow Tig or Mark Coleman or these boys get puck outs, which will leave, I would say, options to go along, right? Now, whether either side will fancy that, I don't know if they will. Like, they'll like to work the ball through the lines and play the way they have been playing. Ozzy's probably a loss if he's out from that point of view. Contrasting styles, loads of runners, loads of wing backs getting forward with Tim O'Mahony, Jack Fagan, who's actually a lease of life at wing back as well now, in fairness, and Bamanan. So very, very similar styles. Matchups will be key. Who picks up Desi? Is it Niall O'Leary? And then on the other side, who picks up Hoggy? Who picks up probably Connolly now, who's a very dangerous inside forward? And then you've got Kingston. Does he play in the wing or in the corner? Robbie O'Flynn coming deep. Like very, very nice battles all over the place. And as I said, Shaw, a clash of similar styles is how I'd put it. I think to the 45, the full back lines will get the ball. But after that, it will be interesting to see which team's ball handling through the lines is better and basically taking your goal chances when they come. I think the game will cough up plenty of goal chances on both sides. And I'm going to go mad here. I'm going to forecast a high-scoring league final with Waterford to win narrowly.
Ooh. I think Cork might be better prepared after Saturday night, Hoagie. Would you see? I think it might stand them, going into it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about there earlier. We were talking about Waterford and where they're at, and if you think back to last year's semi-final, TJ won't like me saying it, but Limerick are there, number one. Has the gap closed? If you take that performance in the All-Ireland final, I think Cork and Waterford have improved from last year's semi-final. I feel they've added one or two players. You take Cork, you've got Joyce there, wing back. I think he was added significantly to that team, and I think the belief thing, the Gary Keegan or whatever you want to call it, I think the belief having got to an All-Ireland, I think having the likes of Saturday's result will build that Cork team up. And then Waterford, I think they've added a couple of series. I think 2 years ago or last year, if they were missing those four players, I don't think they could have coped. Whereas I think they can, they can now. I do think they need them back for the championship, but I think they're in a much stronger position. So I think both teams have closed the gap to a certain extent on Limerick. For the final itself, I agree. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think both teams are attack minded. I think there's too many good forwards on show for it to be a low scoring free affair. I think it'll be a shootout. Which side will come out the right side of it? I'm going to go Cork just purely because I think the game against Kilkenny on Saturday may have been a little bit more battle hardened for it. But I mean, toss of a coin.
Yeah, we won't ask you for a prediction, Kels, because it's not fair to ask you that. How's Alan, by the way? How's the body?
Yeah, he's good. He picked up a calf injury in the first game against Clare, and calves are tricky, because every day you're walking on it, it's pinching a bit. But he got himself back. He's after playing 2 club league games there now. He's back in training, so obviously he came back to us to play the games when he hadn't been a part of the plan. But He seems to be moving well. You'd hope that he can put his hand up and be a part of the 26 come Limerick, but when you're playing week on week, it's hard to break into any sort of squad. So just needs to keep the head down and keep driving on.
Yeah, I asked Brian Lohan for the third goalkeeper for Clarecastle, Keane Broderick. He's on the panel and he wouldn't give him to me Saturday for a County League game. And so Cork lads are playing County League games. Brian, you listening to this? We need to see the third goalie playing a match instead of standing behind the goal in case the second goalie gets injured. No, look, that's the way it was. We were all in that position at one stage, TJ, weren't we?
Dalo, where are you in the league final?
I think Cork might shade it. I like that deaf dog syndrome as well. I think we'll have a crowd now from the ISPCA. Ringing in about deaf dogs and we cutting them down. There'll be someone will give out somewhere along the way. Yeah, I think Cork I like Cork all year now. I just think there's something. The Wexford game, they took a pull, but they were true. Sure, they were both true. He rested them, and I thought I liked Cork. I liked the resilience of Cork. Waterford, maybe they would have shown resilience if Wexford turned up, but Wexford didn't give them a game. So maybe Waterford are going to come out and show us all. I think Austin getting off or not getting off will probably have a huge. I think if he's not there, Jesus, he's playing great stuff. He's absolutely capable of anything at the moment. And it's really one to look forward to. It'll be preceded by Down and Westmeath in Thurles, which is fantastic. Like the 2A final goes on in the Field of Legends. Even the Kilkenny boys didn't mind going there to play. So it should be great evening, Saturday evening. Westmeath, very good win over Kerry. Kerry got reduced to 14 men. I think that probably summed it. But yeah, good friends with Joe Fortune and Norone and Sheehan as well. So I'm just saying the best of luck to both teams in that. It'll be a great boost for either county to get back there to that Division 1 hurling. We see how important it is. The other huge game the weekend, obviously, I said it was the biggest game of the weekend, and I still stand by that. It's a blow for Fenno, Brian, but Antrim probably have been the more consistent team during the league and won by 7 points, so not too many arguments from Offaly, I suppose. And I think it's good for Antrim with the way they have performed, especially up in Corrigan. And they didn't do too bad when they went to Nolan Park either, in fairness to them. It was 4 or 5 points. So probably, while we said we had our doubts because when they came to having to beat Laois, and Laois had targeted the game, obviously, they couldn't get it done, but they got it done on Saturday in Navan. It's a big result for Darren Gleeson and the lads. Obviously, the Joe McDonough, they'll probably meet again, the two, well, they will meet again, but whether they'll meet again in the final or that. But it was a big result for Darren Gleeson and Antrim that they can build on again for next year. Now they know that Division 1 hurling.
Yeah, it's massive. I was at the game in Nolan Park when they played Kilkenny, and really impressed with them. You know, they gave it plenty to Kilkenny that day, and I think was Kilkenny kind of, I suppose, increased the intensity a bit, kind of started speeding up the ball through the lines. They managed to put a bit of distance, but there wasn't a whole lot between the two sides there for 50, 60 minutes. It's huge for Antrim hurling. I mean, any of us, I'm sure we've all been up there at different points, be it Ballycastle or Lougheed or wherever, and they're hurling mad. Like when back in the day when there used to be open door training sessions, they used to come down. You'd see the same families. There'd be busloads of the camper vans. They'd park in the Loughlin's and they'd go to Wednesday night to Nolan Park to watch a train, and then go down to Thurles on a Thursday night and watch a train. And the same people, you'd meet them, and they'd know the club scene better than you know it yourself. And they're fanatics, and it's important that hurling is supported up there. And not to be kind of, I suppose, facetious about it, whatever. But it's great for hurling. That they're at the top table and they've retained their status in the league, Division 1. But they're probably justified. To be fair to them, I think they've been the most. Probably they have been more consistent than Offaly. They've been competitive in most of the matches, and I think it's good for them that they're there and they have something to build on. And it's good for Darren Gleeson. He's doing great work up there with them. I feel for Fenno. He's done great work there, and Offaly have really kind of had momentum behind him. Obviously, Dylan going in, as chairman, and they've, with the football as well, and they're on an upward curve, as a GEA county, and it's great to see because we want there's not too many, I suppose, hurling counties, if you like. We'd love more. So the ones that we do have, you want to support, and and hopefully, look, they continue to develop. I know they're putting in massive work underage as well. So, but unfortunately, look, the nature of it, there has to be a winner and a loser, and I think Antrim were the better side. Even looking at the highlights of the match, they were the better side. But over the course of the season, I think they're justified in staying up.
It's a long road back, Cads, isn't it? Like, Finno went in there, and we know what Finno would be like. Sure, he's a winner all his life, and they won the Christie Ring, and they got promoted to Division 1. But it's a fair jump, isn't it? Up, and there's no other way to do it, Donnie. Learn and go through the hard days and come back now next year and try and win that 2A and get back up there again. There's no other way.
No, there is no other choice, and you can be sure like that Finley's trying to do best practice, and he's like, the man has a huge amount of experience from his own playing days, and you'd imagine he's implementing all best practice with Offaly. It's a hard place to be in then when things aren't going well, and we've all been on a losing run at different stages with teams we're involved in. Maybe not so much you, Brian, but it's a tough spot, and you're trying to change the simplest things. I know, Dalo, I was doing my research before coming on as a debut here on the show. I was talking to some of the Kilmiley contingent, and he was telling me about some of the bonding sessions you were doing in Dublin prior to playing Douglas in 2008. I think you remember that.
That's right. We went up.
A good fan of the sideline to sideline runs after limited sleep, is what I was told.
Wire to wire.
So, wire to wire.
And you robbed us. And you robbed us.
I knew you'd come back with that one. But again, sometimes it's the small little spark or something that gets things going again. And I've no doubt that the boys will go again and reset. And sure, look, that's what losing does. Sometimes you learn a lot more from losing and being in hard times than what you do from winning all the time.
Yeah. And no better man to go at it again. And I know, backed by Michael Duignan, they'll have a fair slap off the Joe McDonough as well. I'd say, TJ, they've learned a lot from the league. The pace of the whole thing, and even the Limerick game there now, even the Clare game, they were right in the Clare game, Offaly, and played very well. Next thing, Clare got a couple of quick goals, and that's what they'll do to at this level. And yet for Antrim, I think it's deserved, TJ, overall, and that. And for me, it was the biggest game of the weekend because it's crucial for both counties.
Yeah, you couldn't disagree with that. I think Antrim were definitely deserving winners weekend. Great championship coming down the track for both of them now. A real target from a Joe McDonough point of view. Probably strong chance that both of them will meet again. I said both of them would like to think so anyway. So yeah. I think next year will become important, I suppose, for Offaly, after dropping back down. The standard definitely has raised significantly, the shape, everything that you do, obviously to get to the Division 1 standard. But it will be just as equally important next year is to make sure that they try and just recover from that relegation straight away, get back to where they want to be, and maybe now they've got a taste for it, try and get back there again. That'll be big.
Twill. Great stuff, lads. I think we're kind of a split jury on who'll win the league final Saturday night, but we're looking forward to great evenings.
No, I think it was 3-1.
No, we didn't ask Cads. We didn't ask him. We won't put him in the spot. He go for Watford anyway, just to be politically correct.
Wouldn't be like me to be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Lads, Landers switched his captain to Ozzy, and he'll be minus a few points now for Ozzy getting the red card. But geez, he got 2-3 from Clay, I think. I don't know, Larry, if we've the fantasy teams there. I'd say, I don't know how you got on, Larry, but no sign of him coming up anyway. So maybe Cahill hasn't them up yet. But I'd say your man could be gone into a bit of a lead. He had Desi, he had Austin as his captain. Myself and Larry went the safe route and went with Hoggy, who hadn't really a big day Saturday night. So I'd say it's nearly done and dusted at this stage. Cads, you haven't been scoring that highly in the fantasy league yourself?
No. I picked 15 backs. Yeah, so that was the problem. Yeah.
You just sparing yourself like your county mate from the 3.4 million on the Blackrock Road. The pad behind you, as I said, looks classy. This is called the wooden spoon hurling. Sean McGrath, this is destined for you. We've added Cads to the league now. Hoagie didn't even enter team, but he's studying studying very hard for championship.
I was carrying a calf injury. I cried out there. I'm hoping to be fit and ready for championship.
Yourself and Eoin Cadogan, both calf injuries, and we'll be ready for championship. I tell you.
Dalo,
that's
we're
the
meeting
heading.
Shawnee. Andrea, we're meeting Shawnee at one of the live shows coming up shortly, which you're going to get the
Shawnee.
details of soon. But we will
We'll be
make the
handing it
official
over.
presentation to Shawnee, on the night.
Yeah. No, great stuff. TJ, the racing club is nearly full.
Yeah, the racing club is nearly full. Mark, in fairness, has a huge amount of work done for us, and we're nearly there. We're almost ready to push the button. For anybody who wants to join up, just to send an email to Mark there at info@comeonracing.ie. That's CAMAN racing.ie. Get an email to him this week because he's ready to close. Yeah, come on racing.
Jim Bulgers didn't do us any good, TJ.
No, Jim, he has another one going tomorrow in a maiden there in Navan. So keep an eye out for us. The name of the horse will speak for itself. It's one that he definitely likes.
Yeah, he doesn't call him Wexford native and expect him not to be decent ones.
Correct. So he'll be given that a chance tomorrow. But the race it's nearly there. So just rounding up the last few there now to info@comeonracing.ie, and then we'll be in a position to press the button. It's definitely through the month of April, and we'll be off to the races.
I even got an email or a private message on Twitter from the great Dahi Moore Oregon of Ufalia fame. Got a good few belts off him as well. I was saying before we came on here about Liam Doyle hitting a slap in Mike Houlihan out an open hand kind of slap. I think there was up. Yeah, there was flailing hands to do. There was a few slaps at the Oscars as well. I think last night. So, but Dyler hit Hula in the middle of a league game. It's one of them league games, TJ, where we used to draw 25,000 to the Gaelic grounds there for a while. Obviously, Clare now wouldn't have that draw. He'd still be bringing that kind of crowd. But Dyler kind of gave him a slap across the face. It's kind of a low blow at the time to hit a fella open hand. And he says, Dyle, I'll get you. He says. So I said to Dyler in the dressing room afterwards, he probably will get you, Dyler. You won't get a chance. He's not going anywhere near him later on in the year. So, yeah, we'll be looking forward to all that. So getting near the business end, boys. Looking forward to the live shows as well. Don't know what we're going to talk about the second night, Tony, but you put on the second night in Cork anyway. But we'll have to try and keep a separate discussion. I'll keep half the Munster Championship and the Leinster Championship back for the second night, I think. Right. But we're looking forward to that, and we're really looking forward to the league finals. TJ, any Fogra?
I have a couple of Dalo. Just on those live shows.
Some crowd in Limerick now are having a fundraiser, lads. So
no, that's coming up. That's coming up. The two live shows are on April the 12th in Castletry Hotel in Limerick, and on April the 14th there is one in Páirc Keeve in Cork. So if you want the opportunity to see, it's there this morning. Dalo
lovely head of me without shaving for about a week.
Asking questions and try and get him to get off the fence. You can come to one of the live shows on the 12th or the 14th. For me, Dalo this morning, a little bit unusual, right? Because anybody who knows me will know that my legs are only for standing. Just a hat tip to the Limerick footballers. Whilst the Limerick hurlers are gone away preparing for the oncoming red train there on Easter Sunday, our footballers have really hit the limelight. To Billy Lee and the lads, what they've done over the last couple of seasons, nothing short of incredible. They have a lovely league final to look forward to, and Division 2 football to look forward to next year, where we're going to welcome the Dubs to town. What an improvement and what a turnaround in Limerick football. So congrats to Billy Lee and his teammates from, what would I call myself? Fair, I don't even know what you call me as a football fan, Dalo. I'll leave it to you.
Did you not play with Galbally, no?
No, I told you my legs were only for standing.
Yeah, well, from a county that has been in Division 2 of the Football League for about the last 8 years and comfortably stayed there again this year.
Welcome,
so you're welcome, and we'll see you in the Munster Championship of the football too.
Okay.
But I'd like to thank Desi Farrell as well in Dublin for taking away that title from me from the last man that had relegated Dublin in the league. Desi's now taking up that mantle. I'd like to thank Banty and Liam Sheedy and whoever Donny Buckley and all that's with Monaghan for taking that ominous title away from me. But loads to look forward to, lads. Pleasure having you on first time, and we'll give it to you on the live shows. Any listeners as they want us to discuss any topics on the live shows, I think in particular next Monday we'll be caught up with the league final. I suppose the league finals in Thurles, and I suppose that'll be the main. But I suppose the two live shows are really previews to what we feel I think is going to be. We're back to the round robin in Leinster. We're back to the round robin in Munster, and the weather this week in the last few days has been saying to us, Jesus, this is going to be electric. Yeah, Hoagie's rubbing the hands there. You've Westmeath League the first 2 weeks, Hoagie. Take it easy, will you? But no, it is. And any listeners, I think, out there that you can tweet me or send in a message to me or Larry or whoever, TJ, on Twitter. Lander's obviously not on Twitter. The two boys here today. We will discuss any topics you like within reason on the live shows. So we don't within reason. Yeah, we don't leave out too much, kids now, fairness.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right, lads. Yeah, that's all
so right. Thanks for listening, lads. Hope you all enjoy your walks this evening with the headphones on. Good weekends hurling. Wexford, we're not being that hard on you, lads. We know Dara is on the greater plan of 3 weeks' time and taking down the tribesmen when they come to Wexford Park. So we just were disappointed on the cracker of a league semi-final, but we will allow you to run it whatever way you want to win the All-Ireland. I suppose that's the target. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Cads. TJ, as usual. All good, lads. Talk soon.
Cheers, lads.
It's only the Allianz Leagues. It's only February. Only a warm-up. Only a relegation. Only a bit of fun. It's only a debut. Only hundreds of competitive matches and thousands of players giving it their all. Only an unstoppable passion for GA across the whole nation. It's only 30 years of Allianz supporting the leagues, and we're not done yet. Only the leagues, only the Allianz Leagues.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.